Hey everybody, welcome back to the I Play 2 podcast. I'm your host, Rob Adler. This week, basketball player TJ Cline joins the show. He has played internationally in places such as Turkey, Andorra, Spain, and Israel. In 2023, TJ was in Israel preparing to start the season when, on October 7th, extremists attacked the country and the season was suspended. His mother, Nancy Lieberman, is in the Basketball Hall of Fame, and the Nancy Lieberman Award is now given out each year to the best point guard in women's college basketball. TJ, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Looking forward to talking to you about everything.
Thank you so much, man. Being the fact that last October you were in Israel when extremists attacked the country, kind of take us through what that was like.
For me, in a personal setting, we had been out there for about 7, 8 weeks, and we were getting ready for our first game, which was on Monday, 2 days from when it happened. So we were getting ready. We were about to go to practice, and we had seen on the news what had happened early that morning, kind of in shock, not knowing what was really happening. And we went to practice in the morning and kind of got the update. And then we had a later practice that day. They got canceled, and they kind of brought us in and talked to us what was going on. And for the next 3, 4 days until they could figure out what the league was doing, what the country was doing, they had us doing just light individual workouts. But some of our players were having to go to the army, having to go serve, so we couldn't field a full practice. So we were just kind of waiting for direction. So it happened on Saturday. I think the following Thursday, we tried to get out, and they said they had a flight for us at night. And we tried to get out, and they canceled our flight at midnight, which kind of didn't really give us a lot of hope. And then we went back, and they told us they had another flight the next day to get us to Greece, and kind of like an evacuation flight. And they canceled all the other flights that day but our flight, and we somehow got on and got to go to Greece. Then from Greece, got on a flight to go to Turkey to Plano. And so here we are, and that was kind of the journey out of it on how we got out.
What part of the country were you in when it happened?
I was in a city called Eilat, which is down south. And so it was a couple of hours away from Gaza, not really near Tel Aviv. It was kind of out of the way, but there were bordering countries that are obviously right next to it. So with kind of not knowing what was going on, Eilat at the time wasn't a bad place to be in, but just the situation as a whole was tough.
Did you know anybody that was affected by it that lost family members?
A lot of our teammates had friends that they knew that were at the festival, and I had friends that were posting about their friends that were missing and all this. So there were a lot of lives that I knew that were directly impacted by this.
Eilat's kind of in the southeast corner, I guess I would say, of Israel, for lack of a better way of saying where it is. It's on the Gulf of Aqaba, I think, if I remember right. In terms of the whole feeling of what was the initial shock like? Am I going to be able to get out? What was the whole process of trying to contact the U.S. consulate to try to end up getting you on that flight that ended up getting you out?
It was a little bit of panic at the beginning, just not knowing what we were going to do and how it was going to be handled. But I think that after talking with our team and talking with government officials and the airlines and everything, they were doing a pretty good job of getting everybody who needed to be out, and who needed to be out, meaning like that wasn't their native country. So I think they did a really good job of helping us in that situation and making sure that we felt somewhat safe as best as they could do in the situation, because for them, it's obviously just as terrifying, if not more.
In terms of your career, were you able to kind of latch on with anybody? Because most of the international seasons had already started at that point.
We were contractually obligated to stay with our team and until they gave us the go. So I was contractually obligated to stay with them as long as they had wanted me. And then there were a few other countries that I was looking at, but ultimately I was signed to that team. And then some things happened on the front of just making sure I'm healthy and good, and the timing just didn't work out. So it made the most sense to prepare, get ready for the big three, and then get ready to go back over to Israel next year.
Are you going back to Eilat next year?
I don't know about that. I don't know where I'll be. It's a year by year contract deal, but I'll definitely be playing somewhere over there.
If I'm not mistaken, you're an Israeli national, member of the national team as well, right?
Yeah, my second and third year pro, I did with them. We've talked. They have a 3-on-3 team. Obviously, I haven't been able to do it lately because of the conflict in the summer with the big three and then with your team for the season. But yeah, I had 4 games with them. It was a really, really, really cool, memorable experience. They're awesome, the Israeli Basketball Association, and it was an honored experience.
What was your favorite moment out of those 4 games?
I think our first game we played, we beat Germany, and the problems between Germany and Israel are obviously well documented. So I think that was really awesome to get to beat them. And I think I got like MVP of the game. It was my first game with the team, and I'd played with my teammate, Guy Panini, and we had a really good connection. And to do that at home in front of the Israeli fans was really cool.
Play your first game and get MVP of the game. That's not too shabby.
Yeah, it worked out. It worked out.
When you have time off in Israel, do you ever have a chance to travel around and see the country?
Not really. Playing professional basketball, you don't get that much time off. And when you do, you want to go to another country, you want to go home, you want to go somewhere where you haven't been. And so Israel's not that big. So I've been to most places in the country, especially like when you play there on the road and stuff like that. So I've seen pretty much every part of the country. It's a gorgeous place.
Is there a favorite part or a favorite city when you are on the road that you prefer to play in than somewhere else?
For sure. Tel Aviv, 100%. Tel Aviv is unlike any other place I've ever been.
Would you mind elaborating on why?
You got the beach, you got great food, you have great hospitality. People are so nice and welcoming. And that's all I really need to say. Like, what else do you need? And you play basketball and make money.
A friend of mine who went to Tel Aviv said to this day it's still the best piece of pita bread he's ever had in his life was there.
Oh, for sure. The food is unmatched. Schnitzel, all that stuff. Hummus, falafel.
Yeah, I can't say I'm a big hummus or falafel fan.
You got to give it a try, man. You got to give it a go.
Oh, I've done it. Doesn't fit my palate, unfortunately.
I feel you. It's not for everybody.
One more question on Israel, again, for somebody like me who hasn't been. What's it like to be in Jerusalem?
I played there last year and lived there, and it's really the holy city. You feel it just from the architecture to just the air to the people that you see. It is very religious, very much the holy city. And it's really kind of crazy to go there into the Wailing Wall and see all these different things and just witness it and be a part of it. And so just their spirit, their culture, their religion is truly breathtaking with the way that they have such belief. That's the way of life. And it's really cool to see. And the time that they spend with family and the time that they spend with their loved ones is really, really admirable and something I think we should do more here in the States.
I have a different friend who actually lives in Jerusalem, and he absolutely loves it.
I mean, I could see myself being out there for 5 or 6 more years.
How did you end up signing in Israel initially?
I was in Turkey to start my career, and then I was in Istanbul, and I got bought out by a team in Holon, which is right outside of Tel Aviv. And so my agent hit me up. I was able to get my passport. I was able to get citizenship. I heard it was an unbelievable place, gorgeous beach, great people, and I just fell in love with it when I got there. So just hearing it word of mouth, and then obviously my family ties with Israel played a big part.
You mind talking a little bit more about the family ties? Because I know a little bit about them, but I'm not sure how many listeners do.
Just from my mom's side of my family, she comes from a Jewish background, and Lieberman obviously being a Jewish last name, but I didn't really know much. We weren't that close my mom's side. So getting as I got older, got to meet more people in the family and really understand that side of my Jewish heritage because that wasn't really a thing growing up and I wasn't taught that. And so getting to not only like hear about it and know that's my family, but to be there and be in the mix and get to feel how they feel. And it's an unbelievable feeling.
How did you end up initially in Istanbul? Because that's kind of a pretty big culture thing coming from the US going over to Turkey.
The team was called Galatasaray, and it was a really, really good club. they offered me out of college, and it was a really good offer and good situation, stuff like that. And so me and my agent talked about it, and that was my first stop. So it's kind of just a recruiting process, kind of like colleges do now.
Did you talk about the passion of the Turkish fans? Because they do love their basketball in Turkey.
That's probably the wildest place I've been. Israel's pretty crazy too, but I would say that the Turkish fans, I mean, the top arena that we played in fits like 12, 13,000. And so to get to play in front of that many fans that are yelling and starting fires in the crowd and just so passionate about their team, it's a really cool feeling, and it makes you want to just go out and play very hard for them.
Starting fires in the crowd? That doesn't sound safe indoors.
Like I said, it's a big arena and they somehow know how to handle it. So, I mean, people are smoking cigarettes in the arena. Serbia is even crazier, but yeah, Turkey's a wild place.
Did you play in Serbia?
I didn't get to play for a team in Serbia, but I got to play one of my national team games was in Serbia against the Serbian national team.
Did you play against Jokic?
He wasn't on that team. It was during the middle of the NBA season, so they've just brought their Euro League and guys from China over. So we got to play against Teodosic and the guys that they have that are not in the NBA.
He's an excellent international player, no question.
Playing against Milos Teodosic was really cool.
Was that game in Belgrade?
Yeah, it was in Belgrade. It was at where Red Star plays, a team over there, Seta Vita. And so we played them. You walk out in the arena and it's literally people are smoking cigarettes. It's just a cloud of smoke and you just run out. And it's one of the most historic arenas in Europe. What an unbelievable experience that was.
Yeah, at a time of yesteryear in the US, you would have people smoking at games, but that hasn't happened in a really long time.
Exactly.
Your mom and dad might remember a few games where that happened, though. I bet that happened in their careers at some point.
Yeah, I bet. Back in the 70s, they definitely did that.
Sticking with your international career, because I was a little fascinated by this, because I don't know any athlete that had ever played there before you. Andorra, what was it like to spend some time there?
That's probably my most peaceful place I've been. I was up in the mountains, had a great apartment, great view of the mountains. So it was just incredible to be there and get that Spanish feel and that Spanish culture. And the food over there is so clean and it's really, really, really tasty. So I had a really good time getting to play for them and be around that culture. It was a blast. It's one of my more fond experiences overseas.
In terms of the Andorran people and culture, you mentioned that it was a little bit Spanish. Is there any kind of French influence into that as well?
Yeah, there was obviously in the local because it's half French, half Spanish, but I would say mainly more of a Spanish feel. And especially as you travel outside the city and went to more of the country, obviously, but I really enjoyed it.
What was it like to play around in the ACB?
Oh man, it was a blast. It's my favorite European basketball. It has a great grip to it. It reminds me of the Big Three ball. And it was awesome. It was cool to get to see the style that they played. Every possession is so tactical, and we watched so much film and this, that, and the third. And I really did have a great experience playing with those guys and enjoying myself. And I'm not kidding. The ACB is so competitive.
I don't think people in the States realize just how good the ACB is. I would argue it might be the best European basketball league.
Them, Turkey's good, but yeah, I would definitely say that they're probably the top one for sure.
In terms of playing on the road, whether it be Madrid, Barcelona, somewhere else, where was your favorite city to play there?
There's a city called Valencia, and we got to play in it's pretty much all palm trees and on the beach and just a gorgeous place. Actually, I would say my favorite place, not when I was in Spain, but I was in Jerusalem last year and we played in the Final Four in Malaga. And Malaga is a place that I would love to play. Malaga is gorgeous.
Tell me more about Malaga. What makes it so gorgeous?
I mean, there are so many beaches, but it's also very hilly, so you can get up and see the whole city, and it's just got great views. I mean, I love tapas, so like the food there is great. It's not too expensive. It's a very, very chill city. The resort that we all stayed at was nice, kept up with well. The architecture is nice. And I literally mean the whole city is on the beach. You look out and you see water everywhere you go. It's just a positive area.
As a beach guy, that sounds like a place I need to get to.
Yep. That was one of my favorite beaches I've been to.
I can't say I've been to too many beaches outside the US except for Aruba, so sounds like I need to get there.
Oh man, then make that a bucket list one right there.
I will put it on the bucket list. You got it. With European basketball, what makes the style different than what we see here in the States, be it college or the NBA or even the Big Three?
I think that it's just more fundamental basketball in the sense of like X's and O's, every possession matters. You'll rarely see a guy just go down and take a three. It's very, 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 very tactical. And they really put a lot of emphasis on ball movement, high ball screens. But defense, it's like they spend more time on defense, making sure you're in gaps, making sure you're in passing lanes. So I think that their attention to detail is outstanding.
I'm curious if it's like hockey in Europe, where they spend more time practicing than they do in the States. Is that the case for basketball as well?
Oh, for sure. We'll have 2 days, we'll have 3 hour practices, and it's much more demanding on the body than the NBA as far as practices go.
What, I guess, like a typical practice like? Is it something that's 2 hours long or is it something shorter than that?
Depending the coach that you get, Israeli coaches are a little more lenient, but I think that when you get more into like the Serbian people and the Greeks and Turkish, and it's a little more of a rigorous practice, just as far as breakdowns on every defensive part of what that team is doing, making sure that we're running our offense, reps, 5-on-0, 5-on-5, a lot of playing in practice. So it's just the time and the demand on the body. And that's why you don't see a lot of guys with 20-year overseas careers. It's a little bit less.
In terms of the cardio, and I understand that pretty much every basketball player has unbelievable cardio, but was it a little bit of a shock when you first went over there?
A little bit. Just the intensity of which they play with is really impressive. And everybody kind of knows their role, like especially the people who are homegrown and Europeans in that way. They know their role, and it's really, really, really cool to see 5 guys put it together.
You mentioned knowing your role. How important is it to know your role, whether you're the star player or the 12th guy on the bench?
Oh, it's incredibly important to know your role. You see guys who average 4 or 5 points a game end up making a couple $1 million a year because they know their role, they make the right passes, they make the right plays, they help the offense go. So very, very, very important to know how to play the game the right way.
For you as a bigger guy and somebody who was a good passer in college, how did those skills translate to the European game? Because big guys over there tend to be very good passers.
Yeah, I mean, it played right into my hands and it allowed me to make an impact relatively quick. And I played better when I'm with guys who can pass and who have a great IQ for the game. And I think Europe shows a lot of players who are like that. So I think it really did play into my hand.
We'll talk a little bit more about this in the next podcast, but I do ask one quick question about the Big Three. What do you like so much about the Big Three? Because you played it for several years.
The most physical league I've played in by far. It's a lot of physicality. It's a lot of just brute force strength. I mean, it's half court, and I love playing it every year because it's awesome. The lifestyle you get to live with it. But once again, it is a very, very tough, competitive, and physical league.
TJ, I want to thank you so much for joining the I Play 2 podcast today. I sincerely appreciate it. We'll talk more about the Big Three and winning a title next time. And thank you so much for talking about your time in Israel and your international career. Take care, and we'll chat soon.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me. I had a great time.